Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hello, preschool peeps. Happy Monday.
Hi, peeps.
We are going to start out as we have been by recognizing people in the world and in our country, in the United States, who are listening to us. And we know it because of our scientifically based stats. So go ahead, Alison.
Hello to everyone in South Africa.
Very cool.
Very cool. And hello to the peeps in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
South Africa, a place I've always been curious about, and who knows, maybe we'll get to someday. Here it's amazing. And I've known people who are from South Africa. Love like the things they talk about when they talk about where they're from. Lancaster, let me tell you, Lancaster, which many of the people where we are in New Jersey spend their childhoods going to visit. So that's true for my son's girlfriend / fiance. And see, I'm not used to saying that so much.
I can't believe you just did.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You have to get, we love her, by the way.
We titles.
We love her. It's no reflection on her at all. We absolutely adore her and are thrilled. But she loves Lancaster. And so when we saw Lancaster that you were in our stats, I immediately texted her. And said, Lancaster has beat Philly in our stats. And she was like, haha, look at that. So there you go. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Though we probably could talk about Lancaster all day.
We probably could. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful.
It's really pretty there.
Beautiful land and people. So at any rate, hi, Lancaster. Just know we and my son's fiance are fans.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're here to talk about stuff that's disappearing, and it's sort of a like, should we introduce this to children? Does it still in this year of 2025 have value to be introduced to children? And I think the low-hanging fruit of that is like cursive writing. People talk about that all the time. I think cursive writing still has value, but I'm looking at it from a developmental point of view. I think it has value in developing fine motor skills and coordination.
I agree with that. But I also think, like, if you're not being taught how to write cursive writing, you are not going to know how to read cursive writing. Because I knew somebody who could not read cursive writing at all, and they were an adult. But they could not read it.
Where in 2025 are they encountering cursive writing that they have to read?
Because people like me who were taught cursive writing sometimes still write in cursive. And I used to, if I did not want this person to know what I was saying, would purposely write it in cursive so that he could not read it. It was like a code.
Wow.
Yeah.
I tend to print, and it has to do with how I learned and didn't learn cursive when I was young. We lived in New York in third grade and then moved to New Jersey mid-third grade. Third grade is the year when children would learn cursive. So in New York, we had not learned it yet. And I came to New Jersey and they did know cursive. And I had a teacher who should not have been allowed to be around young children. She was teaching the third grade class in New Jersey, and I was printing, and she said, we write in cursive here. And I said, I don't know how. And she said, I don't care. So I went home very upset and crying to my mother in a generation when they didn't question these things. And in one evening, my mother taught me cursive. So I never got the lessons and the swirls and the swiggles. And I'm very uncomfortable in cursive because of it. I can use it, but I'm very uncomfortable. And I believe that it impeded the development of my fine motor coordination and skills and muscle building because I didn't get all that practice. So as someone who had one evening to learn cursive, I'm here to tell you, I think it just has physical value.
It does, because it does make your movements be more smooth.
Yes.
You have to, and it flows. Whereas like print is very like line based, right? Whereas, so I think there is value in that.
I've had, people say things like, well, how will they learn how to sign their name? But I don't sign my name much anymore. Do you?
No.
You can just do a squiggle. Like when you think about when you're using a card at a store and they go sign on the screen, all you do is squiggle.
Right. Or like for me, I just put my initials in there. I mean, they are scripted initials. Yeah. But like you could put print there. It does not have to be, it could be anything you want as long as it's yours.
Right.
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 It doesn't matter. Look at how doctors, I think one of my doctors just says this.
Right. Yeah. So,
and I'm sure he learned cursive. Still.
Yeah. So I see it more as a developmental issue than I do you need to learn to sign your name issue.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that's just one thing. And I think it is the low hanging fruit. Here's another thing. Children today don't see cash as much as in the past. They're watching people swipe cards or tap card. They're not even swiping anymore. Now people are like tapping cards or tapping their watch.
Yeah.
They have no idea this is connected to earning and having money in most cases. And knowing that as time goes on, there's probably just going to be more swiping, inserting, and tapping of things, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be even more magical.
Just be there. Yeah.
What about the physical everyday use of cash? Is it enough for young children to know this represents money? Here's how much money you have in the bank. It becomes a mathematical thing, really.
It's a mathematical thing. I think it's a budgeting thing too, because I think when you just have this card, instead of having money in your wallet, it's like, oh, I have unlimited funds. The card will do it. Right. So I think it's like that kind of thing too. Like, are they learning not only about money and the denominations of money and what this means, but also how to use and manage the money?
Well, I think that what we have to teach children today is this card represents money you are spending. Here's how much money, and it can be very mathematical. Here's how much money you make. Here's how much money you have available. Here's how much money. And so when children are very young and you give them responsibilities, whether it's in a classroom or around the house, there needs to be some kind of currency. And I'm not telling teachers give them money at all, or even families, but there needs to be some kind of currency. Like you earn so many tickets, and then once you have so many tickets, you can cash it in to get something or do something.
Yeah.
So they begin to understand that we earn, and those earnings have to be there in order for those cards to work.
Yes. Okay.
You with me?
Yep. With you.
So then the question we're asking in this episode is, should we still show them and teach them cash? And if so, how much do we do it? When we were kids, did you or did you not have tests about dimes, nickels, quarters?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. We also had pretend money that we would have to like identify, like that's a dime and it's 10 cents. And like, here's pictures of the dimes and the nickels. How much does it add up to? Those were the tests.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having a terrible math flashback from when I was little. I remember those tests where they would just show you pictures of the coins and you have to say how much it adds up to.
Yeah.
And then they would say, like, if we subtract this many coins, now how much money do you have?
Or how many coins would you need for it to equal $1? But you only have a certain amount of these coins, right? Like,
I'm breaking out in a sweat from talking about this. Is that what we're talking about right now? Saying things like, here's how many coins you have, which in the United States, if you're not from the United States, we have dollars, which are paper.
Yes.
And then we have coins, which are various types of metal. Right? Or something.
Yes.
Nickel,
copper, silver.
If they really still are. I don't even know. But we have a couple of forms for our money. I know in other places, they're mostly some sort of coin, not necessarily paper dollars, but we have both. Is there value of saying to children, as they get older, this is a quarter, this is a dime, this is a nickel. If you have X number of dimes and X number of nickels, and then you subtract this number of pennies, is that still worth it?
Is it worth it? Is there value in knowing that information?
I don't know.
I don't either. I kind of tend to be like, but what happens if the machines go down, right? Like, how are they going to pay for things? But like, most likely that'll only happen for like less than a day and then they'll be good. Right? I mean,
It is true, though, that if machines are down or someone doesn't have a machine, children who are young, who grew up without all of those worksheets we had with and tests we had, which were, by the way, in elementary school, not preschool.
Yeah.
So they didn't grow up with it in elementary school the way that we did. Have you ever watched them try to make change? Maybe what we should be advocating for on this podcast is the elimination of coins. Why do we still use them?
Oh, yeah, because everything could just be rounded up to $1, right?
Yes, because how much is a penny worth anymore in our society?
Yeah, and I remember a time where they said the penny was going to be obsolete, like the penny in general. They were just going to get rid of pennies.
You know why the penny in general has not become obsolete? Because when people say to you, this costs $9.99, it sounds to you like less than $10.
Because there's a psychological thing. Yeah.
It's a marketing and psychological thing why something like the lowest denomination of coin has not disappeared. Mm-hmm. It's not because it's worth much. You can't buy anything with it, really, unless you save a bunch of them.
Because I think when our parents were kids, you can go down to the candy store and get penny candies.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that anymore.
No.
There is nothing that you could buy for 1 penny.
It's a marketing scheme so they could look at you and say, this is $10.98. And you think, wow, it's under $11.
So does it even matter? Because it's not like somebody's coming in with a bunch of pennies, like 99 pennies, and paying you 99 cents. They're giving you a card and $9.99 is getting taken off of their account. So it doesn't even matter.
All right, so we're just going to let the preschool peeps decide. Is it worth going through that? There was another thing we thought of when we were talking about the topic.
Yes, stamps and letters, which is what inspired this one for me, because I was reading a book and it was just a regular fiction book. And in the book, the dad goes, oh, I used to collect stamps when I was a child. And his little girl looked at him like, what is a stamp? And then I started thinking like, what do you mean stamp is?
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
My younger son, at some point when he was an older teenager, so he was probably 16, 17, 18, needed to mail something. And it was his responsibility to mail it. So I wasn't doing it for him. And I said, you need to get this ready to put it in the mail. And he came in with the envelope. And so now we're talking about probably 11 or 12 years ago, came in with the envelope and said to me, I don't know how to use this. Where am I supposed to put the address? He would come to us even after that. Sometimes it'd be like, where do I put the stamp? Did I put it in the right place? Because they don't mail as much. Now, that said, there's still a lot of mail, much of it being junk.
Correct.
But there's still a lot of mail out in the world.
Yeah.
So if we're going to say, is it worth teaching children about addressing an envelope, getting stamps, knowing postage? I think it is.
I think so too. We had entire classes about it when we were kids. I guess they don't have that anymore.
I didn't have a class about that.
Oh, I remember having an entire class, and they would like give you an envelope and they'd be like, here, you need to address this. You need to put the return address in a certain spot. You need to make sure the stamp is there. The letter that you put inside had to be written in a certain way.
All right. Here's how old I am, folks. You know where I learned that? Typing class with typewriters. We did not have that sort of practical life skills class like that.
No, we had a class like that.
Wow. I'm envious.
Yeah.
I know when my children were in high school was when they passed some legislation here in New Jersey where they had to have a class on things like how to write a check.
Oh, I didn't get that.
See, my kids got that.
I didn't get that. That would have been helpful because that's another thing I think people don't know how to do. Nobody writes checks anymore. So do you know how to fill out a check? But that's for older people to figure out, but still.
So I have to tell you, because you know my uncle, he still pays everything by check. And we make fun of him all the time. We keep saying to him, you are the only one they're getting an envelope from.
No, my mother. My mother still mails all of her bills in. And she's like, I got to make sure it's mailed on a certain day to get there with a check inside. And I'm like, Mom, just go online and do it. She will not do it online.
My uncle one time said, you trust doing it online? I said, well, what's the difference? Somebody opens your envelope, your checking account number is right on the check with the routing number.
Yeah. And
they can go online and enter that.
Correct. And you have to trust that it gets there.
Right.
That's to me, the bigger thing to me is like, I had to trust that it gets there and it might not. With all the millions of pieces of mail that get mailed on a daily basis, I have to make sure that it actually gets there.
Right. So, anyway, your mother and my uncle are still writing checks. And my kids did learn about things like tracking a bank account and checks when they were in high school.
See, now that's the practical stuff I did not get, but I did know how to address an envelope because that I didn't get any of that other stuff.
I think even more valuable than knowing about like the cash and the coins is knowing how to balance a checkbook.
Yes.
I think knowing about the envelopes and the stamps and all that's still very valuable.
Yes, I agree.
But I can see it, I don't know, 20, 30 years in the future going away.
Well, because people don't write letters anymore. It's all email
Right.
or social media.
Right.
And they're not mailing their bills, so they don't need to know where to put the stamp or the return address.
It's not like it used to be.
It's definitely not like it used to be.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we've hashed all this out.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
We feel better now. I don't know about any of you preschool peeps.
But maybe other things that they're thinking about that we didn't touch on today.
And if you do, please contact us. howpreschoolteachersdoit.com or howpreschoolteachersdoit on Facebook. We have a page. We do read everything that you send.
Yes.
And we do kind of discuss, would this make a really great episode?
Yeah.
Right? If you're okay with us using your name and location, please let us know that when you contact us. Otherwise, we're not going to. We do want to have your permission to do it. Okay, folks.
Yep.
I think we're done with this. And we will catch you next time on How Preschool Teachers Do It podcast.
Bye, peeps.
Bye, peeps.